An NHL insider has just dropped a bombshell new Leafs trade update as Elliot Friedman has just come out and revealed some very interesting information surrounding one player that has fans very intrigued. But not only that, we have some more moves to the lineup, and following what has been a pretty disappointing season, not only is there moves to the lineup, but again, a very big trade update surrounding a player that a lot of us are very familiar with. You're going to want to stay tuned until the end of the video because there is a lot to go over. But first, Darius, we know that the Leafs are trying to add into their top six, add some much needed insurance to this team. And speaking of insurance, let's be honest, life moves very, very fast, and your insurance should too. With on-the-fly insurance, you can compare rates, customize your coverage, and get a quote in just minutes. It's simply the best.
Yeah, and it's very innovative. It's 100% online, 100% secure, and the best of all, Nick, it's 100% Canadian. So whether you're on the go or planning ahead, protect what matters most with ease.
Yeah, visit ontheflyinsurance.com. Protection is made easy, built for life on the fly. And folks, check out the link in the description and the pinned comment as well. And thank you to On the Fly Insurance for sponsoring this video. There's a lot to go over today, and obviously the Leafs, we're going to be talking about insurance just from the hockey perspective here, and it's going to be a very interesting next few weeks. The team is struggling, but a new report has dropped from Elliot Friedman, and this is a name we've talked about on the channel. I'm sure a lot of you guys have been watching the channel for a while are familiar with, and it is Brayden Schenn. You can see here from Elliot Friedman a pretty big report because we know Friedman is very particular with his words, and he said Brayden Schenn's name's been out there. Ottawa went after him a couple years ago. Toronto went after him last year, and Schenn's got less protection this year. So reading between the lines a little bit, he's saying that Brayden Schenn, he reports it, that his name's out there right now in trade talks, and he mentions Ottawa and the Leafs, but now they're in a better position and a more desperate position perhaps to go after Brayden Schenn. And this is a very notable report because you think back to even a report from last week when Frank Saravalli said that Doug Armstrong and the Blues are open for business on Brayden Schenn because of his no-move clause alteration in this contract. So there's a pretty big report here, especially with the Leafs being, I think you can say, the most active team, at least at this moment, surrounding trades, according to the reports. And it's some much-needed insurance here if they can go out and get a top-six guy. And, they need some help somewhere, even though it's probably the defensive unit. You got to add top six as well.
Yeah, like you said, for everyone who's been watching the channel for a while, if you remember back to last year's trade deadline, Brayden Schenn was in a lot of rumors to a bunch of teams, but most notably the Toronto Maple Leafs. And that happened. They were kicking tires on that to see if it could get done. But now Brayden Schenn, his contract is very interesting now. It's actually easier for the Blues to trade him because it's a no trade list versus a no movement clause. So he could be on the way out if this season continues the way it's going for the St. Louis Blues. They have not been able to put together any type of consistency or any type of winning streaks, which kind of sounds similar to the Toronto Maple Leafs so far, honestly. But Brayden Schenn is a very interesting player, and I want to get into him in a second. But if you look at the contract, $6.5 million this year and next year, which isn't so bad. He has control. We know Brad Treliving likes control. And we know, like you mentioned, the Leafs are, if not the most, one of the most active teams right now on the trade market. We've heard a lot of rumors around the Toronto Maple Leafs, a lot of reports. And not only that, they're shopping. Well, I shouldn't say shopping, but they're, kicking tires on guys like Nick Robertson. They've been trying to trade David Kemp since Game 7. That hasn't happened. We're going to get a resolution on that. What's Calle Jarnkrok's future, right? They just claimed Sammy Blais, who's barely played, on waivers, which we'll get to in a second at the end of this video too. So stay tuned for that, an update on that. But I think it's very interesting. But in terms of the player, we'll get to that in a second. But these are notable reports from notable reporters. So I think that there is a little bit of smoke, but honestly, I think this makes them just slower at this point. Does this player fit into the team the way it is now when you have a Nicolas Waugh who wasn't here last year?
Yeah, I'm curious to see what you guys think about it now. He is 34 years old, cap at $6.5 million. I'm not too worried about the cap because if they do trade, they'd make it work. It's more so about there's 2 years left on the deal, so it does scream Brad Treliving acquisition. This would be I guess an all-in type move, depending on what it would require to get him. But he is a very good player. Now, when we say insurance, will he elevate the ceiling of this team? I think it's very possible. Will he elevate the floor? Definitely. But at the same time, does he elevate the team enough to where they can actually win it all? I don't know if that's the issue the defense right now, it seems like a fundamental problem. However, it is notable that Friedman came out and said that yesterday night. Frank Saravalli said it whenever that was, Thursday or Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then Darren Dreger also has been talking about the Blues and trading Brayden Schenn, saying whenever we're talking about Brayden Schenn, other pieces, Jordan Kyrou, who we will have a video on at some point, name any Blues player you want. They want penthouse value for these guys. He's not going to get it 15 games into the year. So this is something that's probably going to brew for a little bit here. And that's interesting because it is going to cost a lot. Now, Kyrie is going to get a lot more, you'd assume, at least on paper,
Yeah.
than Brayden Schenn. But in the same vein, you can see here his advanced analytics really bad defensively, and he is also quite slow. And he's not off to the hottest start. He has 6 points in 15 games. You can look at some of the advanced analytics. He's not playing great. So I think this could obviously, he's probably going to give you your 50 points, your 20 goals, whatever. But this might be a decent time to buy because the Blues don't have a ton of, I mean, they have leverage in the sense of he's under contract for 2 more years, but it's clear they don't want to keep Brayden Schenn. And they almost traded him last year. And now with the no trade clause being removed, now it's just a 15-team no trade list. The leverage is lower. He hasn't been playing as well. And he's 1 year closer to free agency, but also just a year closer to 35, which is a pretty, not dreaded age for hockey players, but like you don't want to give up a ton of assets for a 35-year-old. Might be a golden opportunity here for the Leafs to come up and get someone at a discount, though it is interesting how much they're looking for. Again, Nick Robertson. Would the Leafs even be willing now with how good Robertson has been to make a move like that?
Yeah, exactly. Are you willing to move Nick Robertson at this point? Because he has played really good in your top six, right? And he has been putting up points and goals for that matter. But to get back to Brayden Schenn, it's an interesting case. If this season had gone differently so far to this point for the Blues, I don't even think we have this conversation. But if it continues this way for the Blues, I think they're going to make a full pivot to the youngsters. I think they're going to go completely young. I think they're going to try and get some assets for Brayden Schenn, even Jordan Kyrou, who isn't even that much older. But I think they're going to pivot to guys like Dvorsky, who's already playing big minutes in their lineup right now, to Stenberg, who's down there in Springfield. I think they're going to start to pivot to guys like that if the season continues to go this way, because clearly they can't win with some of the older guys. Schenn this year specifically is, I don't think it's a fit on the Leafs because, as you can see this with the advanced analytics, he's pretty slow. The Leafs have been criticized so far the last couple of days and weeks for being so slow looking this year. Not the greatest defensively. He's been shuffled around from center, which is his native position, to wing now, which is weird, and then the opposite wing, which is he's playing on the right wing now, which is even weirder. So I don't know what's happening with that specifically in St. Louis, but that's been a thing all year. And in terms of the fit, where does he play with the Leafs? John Tavares is still definitely your solidified number 2 center. He's playing well enough to be there, both defensively and definitely offensively so far this year. So what does he do? Does he come in and all of a sudden now Brayden Schenn is playing the wing? Is he a top 6 winger for you? I don't know if that makes sense. And he's not going to play third line center because that's what you got Nick Waugh to do, right? A Stanley Cup champion in his own right. So I don't think it makes sense anymore. It might have made sense last year at the deadline, but there were so many complications that couldn't get it to work. I think it's easier to get it to work now, and they can take advantage of a team that, isn't going in the right direction. But I just don't know if he fits with the Leafs anymore. And I don't like the idea of Brayden Schenn playing top 6 wing for the Leafs either.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting. Jordan Kyrou, bit of a better player. We'll have a full video covering him soon. But the Leafs they're in an interesting spot. And speaking of interesting spots, Nick Robertson has officially been moved up to the top line. So I'll get your thoughts on this. This is, of course, for the game tonight. There is one. Nyes,
Yeah.
Matthews, Robertson, McMahon, Tavares, Nylander going back to a line we saw a lot last year. And then Dakota Joshua, Nicola Watt, Matthias Micheli, Lorenz, Domi, Sammy, Blay with Kelly Yarncroke on the outside looking in, and Scott Laughton still dealing with an injury. What are your thoughts on this? They're clearly rewarding Nick Robertson for playing great. Now, I thought I liked the top line of Nyes, Matthews, Nylander. Maybe there's some issues defensively there, and maybe that's why they're not that Robertson's any much better of a defender. Do you think this is just to change things up to try to get the team going? Their offense has been fantastic. The problem has been specifically with the defensive unit, which looks mostly the same. What are your thoughts on these moves here?
Well, Nick, we've been making content together for a long time, and we went through the whole Sheldon Keefe got fired to Craig Berube coming in. And for the most part, I don't necessarily agree with everything that Craig Berube does, but I can understand why he makes some of the moves and the decisions that he makes, at least up until this point today, because now I'm scratching my head at some of these moves. You have a second line that has been working, and now you break them up to put Robertson on the top line because Nylander and Matthews aren't working together. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Now I'm scratching my head a little bit. And now you've gone back to the exact same second line that you had last year, which is okay, I guess, but it hasn't worked so far this year when they have been together. So I don't understand this move, at least to start the game. Maybe it's something just different that, Boston hasn't seen yet because you just played a couple days ago, I guess. But that's a head scratcher for me. I don't really understand that. When you have Sammy Blay back in, Max Domi shouldn't be a centerman on this team, and he's playing center. And I get Laughton is out, but I don't understand why Domi's playing center. And then the defense, they're just playing musical chairs again. So we'll see how that plays out. But I think they need something else on the defensive end. I like call up Villanova, make the move that's necessary to get this guy up on the team to have a different skill set in there, because I feel like you have too many of the same guy that they don't offer anything else. So I'm scratching my head at this one today. And I know it's just a regular season game against Boston on a Tuesday night, but I don't get why you're changing some things that have been working.
Yeah, you have Dakota Mermis on the outside there, Philip Myers, OEL. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Maybe it'll work, and maybe this will be the beginning of hopefully a long stretch of winning. But it's going to be interesting to see with all these reports coming out. And I mean, there's already starting to get some people talking about Brad Treliving getting fired, Craig Berube getting fired. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens down the stretch. But that'll wrap it up. Make sure to check out On the Fly Insurance down below. Thank you guys for watching. See you later.